Hi everybody. So today, before it gets too warm, I'm gonna make a little video happen because it's been over a month, and I I'm taking it easy because YouTube's really slow right now anyway. So I'm going to save some of my projects for later this month and into the fall. And I've been having an amazing summer over here. Actually, I've really been enjoying myself. I live in the city, so for me, connecting to nature, it takes some work. But my amateur photography is going really well, and this year has been really magical for me. So a lot of what I'm doing, actually, some of you know, I am still posting on my Queen Bee Nightly G Plus page, and I like to pretend that I'm a little buzzing bee and I go around town when it's nice out and I look at flowers and I take pictures of them. And usually, actually, it's the center of the flower that draws me in. So I've taken some really nice shots this summer, and actually, this one's from a few weeks ago, and I like to take these still shots because it's like a moment in time that's frozen. And then I'm taking the time to zoom in and examine details I may never have noticed in real time. And so this has kind of been my field work and how I'm conspiring with nature in the feedback loop. And it's just been really it's been good for my inner dialogue, most people, especially people in modern times, with all of the constant media and all of the constant noise, a lot of people's inner dialogue becomes really, really toxic. And it's like, unless you are consistently observing that inner dialogue and cleaning it up, you're going to find yourself entrenched in thought forms that are not healthy because it's constantly being bombarded. So this has really helped me come back, and it's kind of it's a moving meditation for me. And then I really like it when I can catch some insects. This was a little shoot where this butterfly was in my face, and then I followed it and took some photos of it, and I got some really nice still shots. And it's so beautiful when you can zoom in and examine the detail, but what I love is on this one, I actually got the underside of the butterfly wing. And see, I never would have noticed this. I would never have noticed that. So beautiful. Just so nice to be able to zoom in on that. And also the details of the flower in the center of the flower and the pattern there. So pretty. Okay, and here's another little fun thing that I've been doing recently. Recently, I've been revisiting places via Google Street View. It's been really fun. I actually went back to my favorite childhood home, and I did a virtual walk around the block, and I haven't been there in 27 years, and literally nothing has changed. There's like the bushes look slightly different, and that was it. So I like to do that, and this particular location, this is in Portland. This is the house where I was living in 1996 with my two roommates. This is the house where I had my gray alien encounter. Now, I know, like, I think my brother or somebody asked me about this at one point, like where this happened. And so the only thing that's changed about this is that the house used to be green and now it's gray, but the hedges are still as tall. Now, I made two 45-minute long videos about my gray alien encounter just to document it. Those videos were made in 2012, and they're on my old Queen Bee Nightly channel. They're horrific. They're terrible. They really are. They're rambling, and they're bad audio, and I was really nervous when I made them. But I did it to document. Because I mean, I've had a lot of weird things happen to me, and actually most of it happened while I was living in Portland. To be honest, I had a few years there that were so weird. It's taken me a decade to process it, really. But the thing about it is that time tells, and part of the beauty of, aging and having 20 years of life to examine is you start to see patterns and you start to see connections, and there is a certain wisdom. In fact, I am loving getting old on the inside. Everything about aging is wonderful except the physical decline as far as I'm concerned. That sucks, okay? It really does, actually, but the what's happening internally is just beautiful, and I'm starting to see things, and I understand better what was happening to me. And it's been very interesting. I don't have all the answers for sure, especially not about the whole gray alien thing. I do not pretend to have all the answers, but I know a hell of a lot more than I say. And I'm cautious with this, but again, I like to document this because this was, it happened. Something happened. But anyway, so I told the story in those videos, and really, it's like, it's kind of interesting for me to even look at this house, this location. Now, let me zoom in a little bit more here. Basically, the hedge that surrounds the house is really tall. It's like 10 feet tall at least. It was at least this tall when I lived there. And then, as you can see, it surrounds the backyard. And then this house right here was empty when I lived there. This house had just been built, so there was nobody living next door to me. Over here, I had total privacy because of the hedge, so the backyard was very private. In fact, it was the most beautiful backyard. I wish I could zoom in and show you. I wish it would show it more clearly. But in the backyard, there is like this beautiful little garden thing, and then in the corner right here, there's a fountain. It's like a little bridge with a fountain. And so what happened that night is I went out the front door and I went around the side of the house, and I went next to the hedges, and then I stood here in the backyard. And I stood in the backyard, and then to the right of me in the hedges here, I heard the bushes rustling, and then I heard a sound. And it was a sound like no other sound I have ever heard. Now, let me tell you, I would have probably dismissed all of this as a possible hallucination if it weren't for that sound, and if it weren't for the fact that it was rustling in the bushes. There was something physically there. And believe me, I was wide awake and stone sober when this happened. I wasn't drinking any alcohol that night, and I didn't have any weed. So I remember it pretty clearly. And of course, it's weird. It's weird for me to look at this. I haven't looked at this house in a really long time. So it's kind of strange. But anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that. I really wanted to show my brother. I don't think I've ever really shown my brother the house and the layout of where it happened. And a lot of weird things happened to me in Portland. Some of them I'm really actually pretty shocked about in retrospect. Because now I know more, and I do think that there were times and instances where I was definitely being targeted and surveilled, and I don't know what the goal was. So, but I wanted to tell my friend this story because I had a few instances that were really strange that involved the radio. And I don't know very much about ham radios and radio stuff, so I'm kind of like a little bit I haven't really looked into this, and I think I want to look into this more because it was just really bizarre. But I wanted to tell my friend this story, so I'll just put it in the video here. Okay, so I remember, I would say it was probably like year 2000, maybe early 2001. My brother was living in this house in Northeast Portland, and bless my brother. This person is he's not my biological brother, actually. I adopted him as my brother in 1998. But I swear he's like the closest family I've ever had. And he's been with me for, God, 2 decades now. This 20 years we've been together. And we're like twins. Nobody knows me better than this person. When you have that person who always gets you and will always will never judge you. Never. Like this person, I don't know, man. I'm not closer to anybody. So anyway, this was back in, the early years, and we were at his house. And I remember I was sitting in his bedroom, and there was a television set and a stereo, and both of them were turned off. My brother got up and he went into the kitchen or something, and I was sitting there alone, and all of a sudden I heard a voice come out of the speakers. I don't know if it was the television speakers or the stereo speakers, but the voice came out into the room, and it said, "Did you hear those people over there?" That's all it said. And it was in a really raspy voice, though, okay? He was like, "Did you hear those people over there?" Like, that's what it sounded like. It was such a strange, raspy voice. And so, I screamed because I was so startled by this. Suddenly, there was a discarnate voice in the room with me. And my brother came into the room, and I was like, "What the hell just happened?" And he told me that he was like, "Yeah, see, I guess there's a ham radio operator somewhere in the neighborhood." And there were a couple other times we picked up on this guy. Like you could hear him. It was really bizarre and funny. And then a couple years later, see, I don't know if these instances, I'm going to tell you of three instances, and I don't know if they're all connected or not, okay? I'm just kind of shooting the shit here about my bizarre life in Portland. Weird things happen to me all the time in Portland. I have so many stories. And certainly weird things have happened to me living in other places too, but it just seems like the frequency in Portland was constant. And there were a lot of fucking weird people in Portland too, let me tell you. Anyway, so the second experience that I remember involving the radio, I was driving in my car one night, and I was coming home from a friend's house, and the fastest way to get across the river from her house was to cross the Ross Island Bridge. And I hated the Ross Island Bridge. It was narrow, and I never liked the vibe of that bridge. So anyway, I got on the bridge, and I'm driving along, and it's one of those bridges that doesn't have a median. So, if you swerve too much, if you swerve at the wrong time, you will hit oncoming traffic. And so I was, driving along in my little lane, and all of a sudden, and I didn't have any music on. I had an old car, and the stereo in the car was like really old. And at one point, while I was driving over the bridge, I heard a voice come out of the speakers of the stereo, and it was turned off. Only I don't know. I'm not certain that the voice came out of the speakers. It just sounded like there was someone sitting next to me in the car. The voice was not inside my head. It was outside. So I'm assuming that it came over the speakers. And the weird thing is, it was that same raspy male voice that I'd heard a couple years before from that ham radio. So I wonder if it wasn't that guy. But anyway, the voice said one thing and one thing only. And I mean, I was like so startled when I heard this that I almost got into an accident. I'm really lucky I did not hit oncoming traffic because I actually swerved. But the voice said, in the raspy voice, it said, "Portland is a petri dish." I'll never forget that. It haunted me for months afterwards. I mean, to just be driving along with, your radio's turned off, and then all of a sudden a man says, "Portland is a petri dish." Like, it was really freaky. Okay, I'm about to get cut off on the 15-minute mark here. So the third thing that happened with that raspy voice is I received a phone call on January 1st of 2007. And the voice said, in the same raspy male voice, it said, "Our entities will be watching you for another year." And I was like, what? So Portland is a petri dish, and our entities will be watching you for another year. Those were the messages that I heard from that wacky, discarnate, raspy-ass voice. Anyway, I'm going to get cut off. Bye, guys.